The Invite is the latest from actor-director Olivia Wilde, and I think it is exactly the type of adult comedy that is lacking from theaters on a regular basis. It's a four-hander with an incredible cast. It all takes place in the apartment of Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen, who invite Edward Norton and Penelope Cruz over for a little get-together. I would recommend people see it because it's really well done and the type of movie that should be supported at the box office. And there are a bunch of things to talk about with the making of this movie, so come with me as we talk all about it. I'm Cory Baker, and this is a Filmmaker Perspective. The acting is the focus here, and for good reason. There are four actors who have all of the lines, and all four are incredible performers, and all multi-hyphenates in their own right. The success or failure of the movie was going to fall on the performances of those four, and getting the most out of them was going to be the responsibility of Olivia Wilde. I will get into the different journeys directors take on their path to the chair, but there is always an added degree of difficulty to actors who direct things that they also act in. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge that up front. Directing a movie is difficult, acting is difficult. Doing both is like saying you were great at the unicycle on the tightrope, but they have you trying juggling knives the next time. Our story starts with Joe, played by Seth Rogen, leaving his job as a music teacher and coming home to the San Francisco apartment he shares with his wife Angela, played by Olivia Wilde, and promptly lays down on the floor complaining about his back. Angela is stressed out because they have company coming over soon, and she is trying to get everything ready. In between arguments about this being a bad night and Joe forgetting to grab a bottle of wine on his way up, you can see the cracks in the relationship and wonder if this night is the one where it will all fall apart for Joe and Angela. The guests for the evening are the upstairs neighbors, Pina and Hawk, played by Cruz and Norton. They have been an annoyance to Joe, as their late-night lovemaking and the noises that accompany it have been a point of contention, and he threatens to call them out on it as it irritates Angela. The fight between the two of them carries on until they hear a knock on the door when they are joined by Pina and Hawk, who let Joe and Angela know they could hear them arguing before they came in and wanted to make sure it was still a good time. They agree, and the get-together continues. One of the things I really enjoy is that each of the actors has such a distinct style and pace as a performer, and they each get a chance to act as a conductor and guide the tempo of the story, but our baseline I would give to Seth Rogen, who largely sets the pace with Olivia Wilde and that frantic energy the two of them have. Ed Norton and Penelope Cruz both have a more leisurely pace, with Penelope really commanding the energy whenever she is in the center of the scene. Ed Norton plays Hawk with a quiet confidence, and the scenes take on that feeling when he is in focus. Early on, the two couples split, and Pina is hanging out with Joe, and Angela is hanging out with Hawk, and it's great how the two distinct, quiet paces from Norton and Cruz can be felt almost washing over the frantic nature from before and creating new levels for this movie to follow. The story was originally a play before it was a movie, and there was another movie version before this in the 2020 Spanish film The People Upstairs, but the bones of the piece can be felt as an adapted play. And the thing I really enjoy about the performances is that it leans into the lived-in nature of this film version while respecting its roots. One of the things I like about acting in a play, which I have done a good amount of in my life, is that because you have to play to the room, there are performance choices you make for the audience. It's almost like choosing the moments where your performance is playing the emotions of the story differently and more real because the scene requires it. And when the need isn't as high, you play to the room. Movie acting has always been different because the camera can come in on you when it's needed. And there's no need to play action broadly so the back seats can understand. There is a subtlety to the performances from everyone that feels like a play for one person moving around the room in silence. One last fun thing, congrats to our four uncredited actors who are on the IMDb page in the cast that need no see more. You'll all having incredible weeks on your star meter scores. Big up on you or your reps for getting you up there. Rarely do uncredited get so high on the page. Overall, I thought Olivia Wilde did a great job directing this, and since she comes to this from an acting background, it's not surprising that she was able to get such great performances from her cast. But in all the interviews I heard from her, there were several things that she did a bit different that really leaned into the skills and the ability of her cast. In the end, got the most out of them from a performance standpoint. One of the biggest advantages that it's nearly impossible to do this on any other film is that she was able to shoot this film in order. The reality is most movies can't shoot in order because it doesn't make sense to do so from a logistical standpoint. Say you have the police headquarters in scenes 3, scenes 21, and scene 37. You aren't going to shoot a scene and leave and come back, and maybe scene 21 is just 2 shots with 1 line, and you burn a whole day to go back to this place. So you shoot the entire location all in one day. But maybe there is an important character in scene 37, and the actor is only available certain days, so you do all this on the next to last day when you have the star. All these little things are what leads to complicated production schedules. But also from an acting standpoint, you have to find the emotion for a scene from a random moment on day one. For example, a lot of actors who have to be undressed in some way, it's not uncommon that they would shoot that early because the actor has been fasting or doing some other tricks for the last couple weeks prior to looking super skinny or incredibly jacked. So there is a chance you show up for your first day on a movie and you are shooting the big love scene and you haven't had a solid food in 2 weeks, and now you have to be in passionate love with Miles Teller after just meeting him in person for the first time. All of that means that if you make a choice in scene 5, you have to remain committed to it. But because all 4 cast members are in almost all the scenes and in logistically one location built on a soundstage that you can actively shoot in order and have choices evolve in a really interesting way for your actors. Olivia used this to allow her cast to feel real ownership of their characters. And since each one of them had similar experience writing and directing, they were empowered to lean into their strengths. This is huge for an actor because so often you get an actor come to you with a great idea, but it would run counterintuitive to what had already been shot. And you have to find a way to express gratitude and let them down gently and keep them confident to do what you had mapped out. If someone comes to me with a great idea, especially an artist who is specifically living as one of its characters, I want to take it, but sometimes it just isn't realistic. In the invite, that is in play. Also, many directors don't know what it is to act, let alone at the same level of any of the members of this cast. And getting the best performance from the cast is one of the most important roles a director plays. You can feel in the final product that the acting is unlocked in a way you don't see in many films because the person in charge has been a star in her own right, and she has internalized the things that kept her from being her best, and in this project was allowed to put her cast first. It seriously pays off, and I could see a world where everyone could be recognized for their performances. One of the downsides, traditionally, of having an actor-director is that parts that don't interface with actors directly can be less of a focus. Think more of the technical side of filmmaking that an actor might have less hands-on experience. I think this has become way less of a thing in today's age because there are many actors who come from a DIY filmmaking past, and actors today know way more about cameras, lighting, and sound than they have ever known to be competitive in the self-tape world. All that put aside, I really enjoy Olivia as a director because she has a great style and everything about the final experience was just great. I really appreciate the approach that Olivia took here with her openness to allow her cast more authorship over the movie, allowing them to create backstories and apply them literally in the dialogue. There is a great monologue that Edward Norton had that came from him, and he wanted to do the speech live to Olivia Wilde so that her reaction shot could be on camera. That is just incredible trust from Olivia, and the results are all right there. She often explained we were building the parachute on the way down with how much everybody had control over where everything was going in the story. In my mind, this does wonders for the cast and their performances, but in my opinion, the ending wasn't as strong as it could have been. I stress in my opinion because I'm sure there are people who got leveled by this movie. It was too strong of an effort not to be loved by many. For me, it was a good ending, but a movie like this really needs something special at the very end. I appreciate the bookends, and it didn't ruin anything for me, but it was like seeing a band in concert who had a bunch of hits, but they don't play one specific song all night, and you keep waiting for the close of the show. And then they never play the song. Like, I enjoyed ABBA, but I was a little bummed I didn't get Thank You for the Music. You figure that would be what they would close with. From a technical standpoint, I really enjoyed how this movie looked. I think shooting on film was worth the investment, as it really makes the apartment feel like a quiet character in its own right. Only two things really felt like mentioning. The first being that the editing sometimes felt a little off rhythm, which admittedly is really difficult for this movie because so much of the energy goes from rapid fire arguments to quiet conversations and back again. I had that feeling like I needed to know how far into the movie we're a couple times, and I usually read that as the pace feels off to me. The second is that some of the framing, or maybe the utilization of deliberate framing, felt a little bit too much for my taste. I really appreciate the use of leading lines and things like the lower angle shots of Ed Norton, but it felt like we went to the well just a few too many times. I admit they feel like nitpicks because they are. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed it more than I didn't. Finally, and this isn't a problem, but they are advertising this as a comedy, and while I did laugh, I feel the humor is more internal over something that will have you rolling in the aisles. I think you could have the same argument that people have with The Bear being nominated for comedy in television. I think The Bear is funny, but I also don't laugh at it like I would South Park. I don't think anyone would feel ripped off if they came for a comedy, but it's not a joke-first comedy. Fine, let's talk about the noise. It's the Leaderboard. I really enjoyed my time with The Invite, and if you come to movies for actors acting, I think you will have a swell time. The initial conceit, a couple having trouble, invites over the neighbors who have been a thorn in one of their sides, made me worry that there would be someone at the party I don't like because there feel some need to be some kind of provocateur. But the fact that our leads, the couple that should be our stability, isn't stable on their own, I was happy. I enjoyed all the characters and people who were playing imperfections, and all to our benefit. If I had to give The Invite a score, I would give it a 8.2. I had a really good time, and I hope people have a chance to see it. I feel bad that Olivia Wilde's last movie, Don't Worry Darling, was so mired in tabloid nonsense that I feel like it was never going to be able to get a fair shake. Something tells me that this movie will have a nice second moment whenever it lands on streaming. So if you watch this movie after watching it at home, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Next week, I will be back here with The Odyssey, and I am so excited to see it, as so many in the film community are. I hope you come back, check it out, and I hope you have a great week. Thank you.